Welcome to the Motyv Podcast, everyone. We're going to get this party started. We've been sitting here deliberating on what it is we actually want to talk about, and it's time to just get it going. And so Sadie was going to start on some awesome topic, but
let me ask the question.
Yeah, so we're going to turn it over to Blake.
Yeah.
And get this thing going.
For not very long. It's just a question. So I was asking Sadie, are there any men's specific issues that are pretty much men's issues only that women don't understand? You know, especially like in a partner.
Sure. Yeah. So when we're dealing with feelings of one person wanting to be in, one person wanting to be out, anytime there's like this contemplation of divorce, you'll often hear, and I've only ever heard this from men. I've never heard the statement from women, and women always respond really fired up about it, I guess is a good way to put it. And the statement is,
Careful, Shane.
I just want her to be happy. And so then they go on to say, well, I want her to be happy. And so therefore, like if me needing to get out of this relationship and let her be alone or let her, find somebody else, whatever it may be, they're willing to make that sacrifice. And women view that as, oh, you're giving up on me. You don't want to try. And they do not see this as this kind comment. And so that's something I'm often interpreting for them. Women do not see it that way.
So you're like in your office and you're talking with a couple and the guy's like, literally above all, I just want her to be happy. If it takes me removing myself from this marriage or this committed relationship for her to be happy, I will. That's what you're saying.
Yep.
And then the wife or the woman in the relationship might say, like, it's so, like, in their mind, they make it way more simple. And they're like, then you don't love me.
That's
you're
exactly
not going to fight for this marriage if you're just going to leave.
You don't even care. You don't even care. You just want to be gone. You just want my permission to be gone. And the guys genuinely mean it. Like, women don't do that. If we're unhappy, unfortunately, we're like, I'm taking you down. Nobody's happy. If I'm not happy, it just doesn't translate. So with the women that I see, when they're feeling that way, it's like, I'm miserable and I don't want your best. I don't want the best for you. That's not something that you're going to hear me say. And so for whatever reason, that just does this every time in session. So
I still wonder, and I think you're right. I think a lot of guys would do that, kind of make that sacrifice, but I do think some of them might be playing a game too.
Sure.
Where it's like, I'll do that, like all noble.
Yeah, but the way you've
That's
presented
the word that keeps
it,
coming up for me.
Noble?
Yeah, noble.
Yeah.
And sometimes legitimate, like it I think they are coming from a noble place.
Sure.
Mostly, like with what you're saying, but you're going to get some of those guys that are almost gamey about it.
There's something we have to dive through in that statement for sure. That's a really big statement to make.
Like, I'll leave if it makes you happy.
Yeah.
And they mean it.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to hear.
Well, and I think they mean it. I think it's genuine, but I think what they probably are going through is like, I'm a piece of crap. Like, I really am making her not happy, so I should leave so that she's happier.
Real
So there's
shame-based.
still, that's what I think.
They fall in the sword of shame.
Yeah.
Yep. That's something that we end up having to dive through with a big statement like that.
Yeah, it's pretty complicated because if you think that it's genuine, which again, I think it can be genuine and shame-based, but they might not know that. When they're saying it, they might not be like fully aware of that shame, that they're saying it out of shame. Like, yeah, you would be better without me. Look at me. I'm a piece of crap. Something like that.
Which is in their attempt at seeing if you will love me. So if I withdraw, then if I see if you're going to come after me, then I get to see if you love me too.
That pursuer distancer.
Yeah. But the nobility side is an interesting one. I mean, sadly, I hate talking about men who've taken their lives. It just is a hard thing, and I've been around it too much, it seems like, and sadly, that is the end result a lot of the time. Is that this is the noble thing for me to do, is to remove myself from being the burden.
I'm making people suffer.
Yep, I'm hurting people, making people suffer, and I need to just it's the noble thing to do, and that's where they see it as a solution, and it isn't. obviously it hurts everyone even worse, but in the moment it can make a lot of sense. And so that's like a smaller version of what you brought up, I think,
Sure.
where he's like, oh, okay, like I will, I guess I'll leave.
Yeah.
But then you see it, then the woman sees it though, is like, what the,
He does
you're being
not love
weak.
me.
Yeah, he doesn't love me.
Well, for a lot of guys too who are providing or giving everything that they can, I almost look at it in that lenses too. Not only falling on the sword or the noble aspect of taking yourself out of it, but if they're so used to sacrificing to provide, then the greatest sacrifice is I'll give myself out of the picture and give the last that I have.
Good point.
Yeah, you were alluding to a little bit about that. I can't remember specifically, kind of working with couples where, man, I'm having a brain fart here. What were you saying right before we started? You had an example a little bit about that.
Within couples,
Mm-hmm.
there's the couple that I was talking to about the. So I guess reference to it. I was talking to a couple the other week, and I guess in the aspect of providing, this particular husband was gone a lot in the early stages of the relationship and the marriage, which built a lot of resentments for the couple. And him being gone, and him being gone was in a good intent, like he was wanting to provide and make as much as he could and to do something, but it took him away from the home too much in order to do that. And the couple was talking, and the wife made a statement as they were talking that they learned to live without him in the family, which it's just soul crushing. And it just crushed him right to the core that he did everything that he could to provide in every way, in every aspect, and that took him away to do it. But feeling and hearing that his wife learned to live without him, it just crushed him, man. Just everything that he did was for his family, and to hear that providing turned into essentially them learning to be without him and doing things and not schedule with him or not make him part of the plans and stuff because he could never commit to it, just crushed him, right? Just to the core crushed him.
Mm.
Yeah. I wonder if that's another issue, maybe, that like a woman might not understand, is that in a guy's mind, they're like, provide, 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 provide. And they're not necessarily thinking of those costs of like being away, just not being there to connect. And I think that it starts off probably with some appreciation from the wife and the kids, but over time there's that disconnect. And then all of a sudden it's gone because you've been working your butt off, and you have been, but not in some areas, like you've neglected some of those areas. But if the woman doesn't understand and is unforgiving of how much that guy is like working his butt off out of pure intent, just love, right? Like, I'm going to provide for my family. I'm going to provide them with whatever they need to be healthy and happy, but neglectful.
It kind of goes back to this conversation that we've had a lot. We even had it this morning where we were discussing this deep drive for connection, that women are really connection based. And so our focus is, how do we connect with each other? How do we do this, build something together? And so in that, yeah, it's really noble. Hey, I'm out providing, I'm doing these things. And she's like, and how do I feel like you're with me?
Yeah.
Like, how does that translate to, we're building a life together and you're in it with me? Because there's more than one aspect with the providing. It's really important for a woman to know that emotionally she is also supported, knowing that financially, yeah, all these things are in place. It's wonderful to feel that, but if emotionally she feels alone, she is going to kind of create her world that supports that. So whether it's, okay, here's how I function at home. This is my laundry day. This is when I go do grocery shopping, all of these kinds of things. And we create this world without the husband that provides that emotional stability, because now she can predict her world. But yeah, there are two components of that providing, and a big aspect. It's not necessarily that her husband needs to feel what she's feeling all the time, but she needs to know that he's also a rock in that aspect.
I think what you're saying is no amount of financial providing can, I guess, justify losing or failing to provide emotional connection, providing
Absolutely.
companionship, providing fun, and just that stability that the wife and the woman needs.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was thinking too. I think as men, we do have a very myopic view of providing. It's a very easy, and I'm not saying it like as in kind of any judgment or like I'm not trying to shame anybody, right? Because I've been there too, where it's easy to just think providing means I create money. It's like that's like one side, like very little side.
Yeah.
And and who doesn't love The Greatest Showman, right? Like that movie was profound for a reason. I mean, the songs were awesome too. We got to give them that. But
Sing one. I'm just kidding.
here we go.
Oh, great.
Never enough.
Oh, yeah. Little shame attack right
Yeah,
there.
there we go.
Exposure therapy.
So, but that's what I kept thinking about as you were speaking. It's like, here's
Sure.
this beautiful woman who's actually grew up with it all, right? Her dad's wealthy. She grows up with it all. He's like, I got to prove it. I got to prove it. I got to give it back and provide for her. And she's like, I never needed it. Like, I just want you. It's like, and then the way that movie finishes, right? It's like, it's all in front of me. Like, it's all here. Like, everything I ever needed, everything I ever wanted is right here in front of me. And as men, though, in our own insecurity, though, we get addicted to our jobs. We get addicted to that number. We get addicted to those, the providing of the money, if you will, because we also are competitive. And so our career field it can be very easily competitive, whether or not you want to or not. And so you're comparing yourself, just like women compare themselves to each other. Men compare careers. They compare income. They compare all that stuff, sadly. And it's a real deal. And so that can become their way of feeling secure about themselves as a man, rather than one day knowing that when they meet their maker, I believe one of the first questions he's going to ask is say, hey, Shaden, how'd you treat Shelly? I dare say, this isn't doctrine, but I dare say that on my death day, when I come, hopefully I don't come screaming into heaven saying the it word. Have you guys ever heard me say that?
No.
Don't let me lose my track of mind, but there's the fraternity up
No,
there
let's
called
go down.
It's the It Club. Because when you die, it's like when you die here on earth, you're like, oh shit, and then you die, and then you come screaming into heaven. Yeah. Oh, we got another It Club person. Anyway, so I hope I'm not an It Club person, but I might be. Anyway, but where was I going with that?
I don't know.
Oh
It's a
crap!
good question.
Comparison, or there was some comparison in there between careers. I don't know.
When I die, that's right.
So back to you.
I dare say this that Heavenly Father. I mean, I think he'll say, Shaden, how are you? But I honestly think it is one of the most important responsibilities is my wife's well-being. And it wouldn't surprise me if he very quickly was like, hey, let's get to it. So how's Shelly doing? And if I'm like, I think she's all right, that's not going to cut it. Like, that's not like, how is she really? How did you treat her?
Wouldn't it be worse though if you're like, I think she's great. I did a great job, and he's like, really?
Don't say that.
Right?
Here you go.
It'd almost
Look
be
at this.
better to be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of a conversation I had with my husband recently. So he started his own business, and starting your own business, it's slow going, and so the providing part it's been a different kind of balance, and we've been lucky to not always adhere to like traditional male female gender roles as far as family life goes. Just our lives haven't our lives have not necessarily allowed for that as much. But I found that I was feeling really burdened because I was needing to bring in more money, and he was feeling a lot of shame because he wasn't bringing in more money. And so we did this, like we both went to our comfort zones on opposite ends of this scale, instead of coming together. And I found that in this, similar to The Greatest Showman, it wasn't, I'm not feeling stressed that he's not necessarily bringing in money. I found that just a little bit of that encouragement to be like, Sadie, you're a freaking boss. Like, you're killing it. Like, and I told him, I need to hear words like this. I need to know that if I knew that emotionally he's got me, he's not going to let me fall into this like chaos that's in my mind, that I was okay. I can carry a much heavier burden. because I have that encouragement from him. So I wonder, what is the equivalent male expression? So for a female, we know that from my experience, I need to know that I am emotionally supported so that I can carry a heavier load. What do men need?
Same thing.
Yeah, same
Yeah?
thing.
Same thing.
Oh, well, that's
I
fun.
think that's what's interesting for guys. Like, I can go out into I can take on the world and I can carry the world so long as I know that when I get a little bit weak, I know that you're there.
Mm-hmm.
Because that moment is going to come, and when it does, I have to know things are okay at home to take on the world.
Sure.
When they're not okay at home, the world will crush me.
But in Brene Brown's book, I think it's Daring Greatly. That's where she, I think she took the biggest risk of her career when she talked about the man who came to her book signing. Have you ever read that part?
Ooh,
where
yeah.
he comes in and she's signing these books, and he's like, "How come you never talk about men?"
Mm-hmm.
And he basically just says, all those women over there pointing to his daughter and wife and stuff said they'd rather see me fall off my white horse than, or no, they'd rather see me fake it on my white horse than ever fall off, or something like that. And he was bringing up the male shame of like his lack of trust that women really can handle him falling short.
Ooh,
And that's a real deal, right? Like,
sure.
I can't show it, can't let it be, and there just can't be weak. And so that's what you're saying, Jordan. It's like if I have that confidence that I can try hard, and if I do fall short or if I have a rough go, like it's all going to be good, I'm still supported. Then there's not like one of the biggest fears of his life is now gone because I'm okay. And again, now it's on the guy to be accountable. It doesn't mean I'm flippant and unaccountable for what's going on. You know, if I keep getting fired from every job I take, there's an issue. And so again, the wife, I think the wife has to be definitely in a trust. She has to trust him that he will take accountability. But
There's
so men have to pick up that.
There's that important factor of not, of letting both of these supports exist without competition.
Yeah.
Because that competition
It's
is
so
going to build
weird.
resentment so quick. But
It's like who's suffering the most kind of competition.
sure, who's doing more, who needs more support at the time,
Mm-hmm.
what that support looks like, all of those.
Yeah, it's super interesting.
Which, I mean, go back to Brene Brown, right? Like, she did an interview recently that a lot of people are looking at where she talked about how when she gets home, her and her husband give a percentage of where they're at. How much do you have to give? It's not a competition who's more tired. It's not a competition who has more in the tank. It's we both have to and the way that I use it, we have to get across the finish line together.
Yeah.
We both have to do that. How much do we have? And so if you come home and you're like, I got 20%, like, well, great, I got 22, right? Like, okay, well, then we got to be really kind to each other. No, we don't have enough. Or if they come home and they say, I got 15%, you go, well, actually, today I got quite a bit. I'm okay. I can carry it for us to do that, right? So it's not a competition of who's more tired or exhausted or who's done more. It's where are we both at and where do we meet so that we can both get together where we need to be.
Yeah. And can you trust their answer, right? Like if I come home and I'm like, if my wife can tell, which I try my best to just leave work at work or whatever, but sometimes you have heavy sessions, as you all know, and it'll take it out of you. But if I come home, she's like, yeah, don't worry. Like I got stuff. If my shame's like, well, I still need to be, it's like a shame thing. Like I still need to be awesome right now. But if I can trust her, knowing that she's not going to like hold that over my head, like, no, like go chill. Go chill for 30 minutes. Do whatever. Be brain dead for 30 minutes. I got to trust that. And vice versa. If I'm like, you go rest, like you've been going nonstop, you have to trust that. You have to trust their answer and just use it, you know, and you do get a break. You do get some relief. And so does she.
I like that you bring that up. I don't know if you've seen, I really related to it when I saw it on Instagram of all things, but it was this woman and she's laying on the couch and she's just kind of like playing with her phone or reading a book or something. And then she like notices her husband's about to come home. She jumps off the couch and like starts cleaning really hard and doing all the things. And I don't think we have a lot of grace for each other in that regard. From what you're saying, it almost sounds like men are facing that same issue where they come home and they feel like, okay, I have to give. It can't look like I need a break sitting. With women, that's definitely a thing where we feel like we can't look like we're being unproductive. And so I wonder if that translates to when our husbands come home, we're like, how dare you? How dare you feel relaxed sitting down and not doing something? Because when you come home, I pretend I've been busy all day.
Well, we've been talking about those memes, right? We were talking a little bit about some of those memes that are flying around now, where it's like, again, exactly what you're saying. And I think it happens both ways because we got to be a little careful with it, where it's like the husband
Sure.
is like starts to enjoy himself for like 5 seconds. And they're, what are you doing? I need this or I need that, and it's like, whoa. So there's a little bit of that in there, man. It's complicated.
Yeah, I finally got to this place in my mind where, I'd come home and he'd have been home and I'd hear something that used to be triggering, like, hey, what do we want to do for dinner? I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm a 50s husband, right? Like, you've been home all day. I should come home to a clean house, dinner made for me. The kids should be clean, all these things. And I had to remind myself, like, Sadie, he gets to spend his free time the way he wants to as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's not doing this for me necessarily. No. It's not a personal affront if he's having free time.
I think that key, like, it's not personal, and I think some people get into games where it is, there's this tit for tat kind of comparison, who suffers the most, well, kind of stuff. But I really like what you said. It's not, most of the time it's not personal. We're just doing our thing, so.
Any other topics you think, Sadie, that men don't understand about women?
Man, I had one that came through my head and left. I need a second to gather my thoughts. It was real applicable.
Anything from you guys over here?
Well, did you switch the question? It's fine if you did. So the original question was, because you just asked her, are there any issues that women have that men don't understand? But it was flipped.
Oh.
It's okay. Like, it's valid. Like, guys need to learn stuff too, for sure. A lot of stuff.
So men's stuff that women don't understand.
Yeah.
Or women's stuff that men don't understand.
Yeah. So any other thoughts on what men's struggles, men's issues, men's stuff that women don't understand very well that you see?
I think we want to do a whole episode on this, right? We go to the way that men and women think. Right? Like whether one of the references is in a box versus wires, right? Men only think what's in the box. They open that box. They only think about what's in that box until they close it, and then they can go to something else.
Sure. And our brains are like a spider web where you touch one part and it affects everything. I've never understood that personally. And I think that might be my ADHD brain. When I'm on meds, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a shelf there that I can put thoughts on and come back to later. Are you kidding me? And so I don't know if that's how men's brains in general work, but as far as like,
I don't even know. I don't know how my brain works.
Yeah, my brain's like a hoarder closet that you open and it just comes out at you. But I think a lot of women can relate to that, where it's this foreign idea of like, what do you mean when you're done thinking about something, you're done thinking about it? It just
like moved on, just next.
Yeah, I think when I hear that, I'm like, liar. You're a liar. That is not possible.
Okay.
I can't understand.
Maybe it has something to do with our want to resolve things and move on. You know what I mean? Like almost maybe there is something about how our brains work, but that could be a whole other episode where it's like we do kind of compartmentalize. And when that box is closed, that thing's been resolved. And then the next day, it's like that classic stuff where people fight. And it's like the next day you act like nothing happened. It's like, let's do that. let's do that together. It's okay.
There's nothing I can do about it right now, so I'm gonna close it for the moment and come
just
back to it later.
Like pure logic only.
But I wonder if women are just in general more systems focused then.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, classical masculinity would say men are we're the rational, like we're the cliff edges, we're the cliffside, and the mountain that holds the ocean, and females they're the ocean. They have waves, they have storms, they have emotion, they have everything. And if they don't know that a man can contain that, nothing. Like the attraction goes down. So I love reading about this stuff. It's interesting because I think there are many men that want their wife to be quite the ocean in the bedroom, but he doesn't want her to be the ocean outside of it.
Mm.
So he doesn't want her to be. He wants her to contain her emotion and be like he is,
Mm.
rational and focused and decisive. And whereas I guarantee I could ask almost any female and say the greatest birthday present you could ever get is your husband would say, hey, put these clothes on. We're gonna go here, here, and here, and here, and this is what we're gonna do today for your birthday. You don't got to think about a thing. We're gonna go to this restaurant. We're gonna go to this mall. We're gonna go buy this, and we're gonna go do this. So let's
Sure.
go get in the car. And I think most women are like, are you kidding? Heck yeah. Why? Because I don't have to think. I can just be. I can just be in my feminine energy of emotion and just being. And you're, as a man, as a masculine man, you are there to help create that structure so that I don't have to. Because we definitely know that women, when they adopt too much masculinity, they become quite resentful
For sure.
when you over adopt masculinity, when you don't, because your man's not picking it up.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother topic too. But I think it goes in line with what we're saying is
Yeah.
what is it we don't understand about each other, and a lot of the time that's where it happens. Where
Yeah.
we don't see it as a symbiotic relationship, that it's actually beautiful that a man is hyper rational and the wife has a lot more emotion a lot of the time. Like that's awesome. Rather than somehow assuming that we need to be equal, that we both need to be rational.
There's a
But
beauty
no.
in that balance, in those different strengths that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And if we can seek understanding, I guess my takeaway, right, of this whole thing is like, it's not always, most of the time, it's not personal. Like the stuff we do isn't like meant to hurt, it's like
Yeah.
that intention to provide, for example, right? We're not intending to neglect either, but like we're so hyper focused on like provide, be a man type of stuff that's just been ingrained in us or programmed, or over time that's the message that we have is like provide, and then the comparison of like I got to make a lot of money because so and so's making a lot of money, all this kind of stuff. And it's like it's not just that personal both ways.
Do you think there's been as big of a shift for men as there has been for women, as far as if you follow these feminist movements, right, where we've got, what are we in, like the fourth, fifth wave of feminism? It started back, where I love that first wave of feminism. Like I'm not my father's property, and then I go to my husband's property. Like I like that I'm not owned by somebody. That's fantastic.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah, generally that's desired for. And so when you look at that history of it, there's been a lot of shifting in women's roles with these new opportunities that have come about. And so now this woman's role is a little less defined than it used to be. I don't know. I'm assuming, because I didn't live 50 years ago, so I don't know. But as far as, you no longer have this, I'm a housewife, I'm a homemaker, these are my responsibilities, my children, all of these. Now you have this and.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wonder if that's where a lot of these issues come from, is this lack of clear definition between roles.
Sure. I mean, it makes sense exactly what you're saying. Like, it makes a lot of sense. So your original question, we got to kind of wrap it up, but like your original question was, have men's stuff,
have
like
men's
progressed
roles
too or something,
changed as much as women's?
I don't know. I think so. I think probably. I don't know about as much. That's hard to measure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't even know how to start that one.
Yeah.
But I would kind of draw back, and I think it applies to just think about. It's very interesting, and I don't know. I guess this is a question. I'll be like kind of almost exposure therapy or shame. Is there a women's mental health month?
I don't know. Is there?
I don't know.
Oh,
but there is. But
like,
it just, your question, I don't know why. Like maybe I didn't hear the rest of the question before I formulated my answer. Was Men's Mental Health Month is June, and no one knows about it. So I don't know how that applies, but like that's kind of where I went, was like I don't know if there's progression enough for just maybe mental health in general, but kind of men's roles, or where do we fit into all of this stuff? Like no one seems to care about that part of it.
It's interesting.
And that would be my answer right now, not to go too far. So is that if men had to say in general what I think their experience would be, is that our role isn't necessarily changing. We're just getting pushed out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
And
tough.
then if I fight back to it, now I'm domineering. Now I'm everything you think that you've blamed me to be.
Narcissistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
So it kind of goes full circle to this misunderstanding because we misinterpret the motives behind what is happening.
We're attributing intentions on some of this stuff. It's like, no, I want to like have a loving family and wife.
yeah.
And I want to provide for them. That was always my goal growing up, was like, I'm going to have a family and provide for them. Like, can someone tell me that that's messed up?
Yeah.
Yeah, some people will. It's crazy. It's tough.
Well, we forgot to say this in all the other episodes we've recorded, but this is also on YouTube, so you can check out our YouTube channel. And funny enough, I don't even have it memorized. I think that it's at Motyv. Just search Motyv Podcast, but we'll get that to you because we're trying to change the handle on it because it's like a weird like motive and then a number. So we got to change.
So
the
you
handle
tell
on
us what it is.
I will later. So just search. We'll look at it on Instagram too.
But remember
we'll
it
show
right
you.
now.
Remember it right now. So anyway, thanks for listening. We'll talk soon.
Thanks.
Yeah.
See ya.